My cousin showed me a video about dog fur farming in China. I have 2 dogs.
Doctor said that you have to take a tablet, but I think I'm still young.
I started listening to a lot of bands that were animal rights focused.
Animal production, it's so much worse for the environment.
3 years ago, I used to be a big meat eater. I eat lots of meat, and 3 meals, every meal I must have a meat. If I don't have a meat, I can't eat. So I eat it quite a lot. So that's what was happening to me 3 years ago when I go to see a doctor to do the blood test, and I find out I got the high cholesterol. I have high blood sugar and high blood pressure. Everything comes to me, and doctor said that you have to take a tablet, but I think I'm still young. I don't really want to, so I just talking to all different doctors and some Chinese medicine, and they suggest me be a vegetarian, and my problems should be gone.
It was first due to animal rights. I started listening to a lot of bands that were animal rights focused, and I think I got educated that way, and so it was really focused around animal rights, and I probably was a little bit immature and a bit ignorant towards other things as well, and it just evolved from then on in. So veganism was a product of not only animal rights but health issues, the environment.
Along with 3% of the Brisbane population, David and Toby are vegetarian. Toby chose to live with his diet. David didn't have a choice. There is little information available about the number of vegetarians in Australia, but according to Roy Morgan research data from December 2006, 1,500,000 people in Australia aged 14 and over agree that the food they eat is all or almost all vegetarian. This equates to 9% of the Australian population. The Vegetarian and Vegan Society of Queensland states that approximately 55,000 Brisbane residents are vegetarian of the total population, which is 1,800,000. I am a French vegetarian. When I arrived in Brisbane, it was amazing for me to see vegetarian snacks in the city and a vegetarian section on each menu, because in France, vegetarian culture is not well developed. My first reaction was to say, great, at last a place that integrates the vegetarian culture. After doing some research, I realized that the vegetarian way of life is definitely easier for Australians compared to France. This must be due to a variety of reasons, but most notably France's traditional cuisine, meaning mentalities are hard to change. My investigations add now to know if the vegetarian population felt integrated in the Australian society, and in particular in the city of Brisbane. One of the better places for vegetarian people in Brisbane is the Western Market, because they can find everything they need. Being vegetarian is not harmless. Vegetarians must take care of their health to avoid deficiencies. Not only are proteins important ingredients for muscle, bone, skin, nails, cartilage and other tissues, they are the basis of enzymes, hormones and the antibodies of the human system. Without proteins, we can't even digest our food. There are 2 essential nutrients that people get from animal products: protein and vitamin B12. What are the plant foods that can supply adequate protein? The answer: nuts, vegetables and seeds. Olivier has been a vegetarian for 10 years because of the environmental issue and his belief in Buddhism. He practices meditation. For him, it is important to feed his body, but also to feed his soul.
There's a really good film that's just come out called A Delicate Balance, and it was made by a young Australian man who went and interviewed nutritionists in the United States, people like Colin Campbell, who wrote a book called The China Study, where he found in China the people that ate the least meat lived the longest and had the healthiest lives. So, well, there must be something going on here. And he looked around the world and found those societies that ate the most meat are the ones where you had the most cancer and the most diabetes, and all these long-term, really quite serious diseases. It's it's because of people's diet, and I'm really looking forward to the day when people do start making that connection between eating animals and being unhealthy. That the more plant material you eat, the stronger you'll be. If you look at the animal kingdom, what are the largest animals on land? It's elephants and hippos and rhinos. Well, what do they eat? They eat grass, they eat fruit, and they don't have a problem with protein. It's all good. So I'm looking forward to that day. When people make that connection.
For Olivier, it's very important to know where the products he eats come from. Organic products are the solution, and he can only find them in the market. Even if he lives pretty well, it's not always easy to explain his choice to other people.
When I left my home and my family.
It's interesting the way people react sometimes when you tell them you're vegetarian. That sometimes they feel like they have to convert you back to being a meat eater. That they. You often hear stories. People tell you, "Oh yeah, I knew a vegan once, but it's all right. They're eating meat again now." It's almost like a religious thing that they feel that they need to get you back into eating meat. That's the right way to be. And I've often wondered if it's a kind of sense of guilt that they know that it's not right to kill things, and especially the way animals are farmed. I think as human beings evolved and they had animals with them, and they grew those animals, or they lived with those animals and raised them. They had a connection with those animals, and certainly indigenous people, they do have a connection with the animals and with the earth. But the modern industrial way of raising animals for food and the way that they're treated, I think people know that that's not right, and so there's a level of guilt. And so they sometimes try and say, oh, look, you should try this, you should try that, and oh, you'll waste away to nothing, and they try and convince you that you should be eating meat. There's only a few people I've met like that. Most people just kind of respect it, or they're curious, they're interested. So, well, how'd you go about this then, and what do you do for that? And, protein, especially in Australia, I've noticed there's this big thing about protein that you need meat to get protein. If you don't eat enough protein, you'll die. And whereas, it is in fact the opposite. Too much protein is, it's bad for your kidneys, it's bad for your liver, because it has to process all these acidic byproducts.
Come looking for a job, but I get no offer. Just come looking for a job, but I get no.
Rice, we have a curry. Every day curry is changing, different colorful, different vegetable we using that. And we have vegetable pakoras and dal. And we have papadam, Indian classical bread. We deep fry that, papadam.
Arinam Sharan is vegetarian and he comes from Azerbaijan. 8 years ago, he moved to Brisbane with his family to find a job, and in 2000 he opened a vegetarian restaurant named Krishna's Cafe.
In human life, experience is very important. If a father and mother has experience, he has to teach his children same experience. They should not have mistake. So when one who become vegetarian and scientifically understand vegetarian food is healthy, and for morality point of view, and even bodily point of view, give healthy consciousness, healthy mind and things, thoughts. So then we like to share this understanding among the others.
Harinam has been vegetarian for 22 years because of his belief in the god Krishna. Arinam's wife and son work also in the restaurant. It's a family affair and this influences the friendly atmosphere.
So Paul just new attended our Krishna's cafe and he very interesting vegetarian food stuff. And always last 1 week he's very much love our food and we are conversate also about that.
Well, I'm practicing to become more of a vegetarian, and so yeah, I love this food. Like I've tried to cook myself, and like I'm sort of in a learning process to try and eat a lot more vegetarian. And coming to places like this, obviously it's good. Oh, very tasty. He's a good cook.
The Vegetarian Society of Queensland lists 17 vegetarian restaurants in Brisbane, a figure quite impressive, but not everyone knows that this place exists.
It's pretty difficult. To give you an example, when I arrived in Brisbane about 5 years ago, I went to the McDonald's and I asked them, do you have anything vegetarian? And the girl says to me, I've got chicken. Like they had nothing and I was hungry. I had to eat something. So I asked them if they can make me a Big Mac without the meat patty. So yes, that's how it started. So it's not easy finding something vegetarian in Brisbane.
But this is organic.
People sharing time to discuss their diets. That is the way the food co-op was born 8 years ago in the Griffith University.
So the basic principles of food co-op is to get organic food and local as possible and ethically as possible. So they're the main principles that we follow, and based on those principles we buy the products. So it's always a very conscious consumption rather than being oblivious to what's actually happening. We try to research where the product is coming from, where the money is going to, and who's benefiting from it, basically. And it has to be sustainable as well.
Nowadays, around 300 students are members of the food co-op. They are meet Toby, who studies in Griffith since this year. He didn't hesitate to become a member of the food co-op.
It was just natural because it's a cooperative of people doing normal things, and people are benefiting from it so much. Like we all need to eat. Why not come together in one place where we can talk about food, and you learn so much off other people. That's where you do learn, and you teach other people things and you gain all their knowledge, and it's through this one little central hub of awesome people, relaxed people. You would never see a fight there. If you saw a fight there, it would be so out of place.
Every Tuesday and Friday, a vegetarian restaurant in the city named Govinda's, in link with the food co-op, proposes a banquet for $6.50 to the students. Vegetarian and non-vegetarian people alike meet for lunch.
The reason why I'm eating this vegetarian food is because it's prepared well and the flavour's really yummy. I find that as a meat eater, it's really easy to be lazy and make things taste good, because if I whack a steak on the oven and flip it straight over, it still tastes yummy. And that sometimes makes me disinclined to go to the effort to prepare vegetarian food, which is a bit lazy on my behalf, but it's great when you guys do it, and it's awesome. So thumbs up.
This event is a good way to promote the food co-op, Govinda's restaurant, and is a good way to promote the vegetarian culture overall.
I'm also involved with distributing this vegetarian Hare Krishna food at different festivals, like music festivals and folk festivals, community festivals, in the weekends. And we've always had a really good response from the public. And a lot of people, they're not vegetarian, but they just like the food. Even though they themselves aren't vegetarian, they'll come to our stall and they can sense a very nice taste from the food. And a lot of them actually say that they sense not only just a nice taste, but also something, they get a sense of something actually spiritual, because all of the food is first offered to Lord Krishna, and then we then serve it to the people. So there's a sort of a spiritual aspect to the food as well, and a lot of people feel that, and they come to us and they say, what is it that you put in your food?
12 o'clock in the city of Brisbane. At the end of the Victoria Bridge, Amy distributes leaflets. She has been a member of the Vegetarian and Vegan Society for years, and it's not always easy to front people.
Actually, negative feedback's quite rare, like really negative. I mean, a lot of people can just refuse, but you get a lot of positive feedback too. So.
As well as Amy, there are around 5 other people every Saturday giving leaflets around the town to educate people about animal rights and environmental issues. According to them, mentalities change step by step, but in addition to vegetarianism, veganism is also a major issue. It was the occasion for me to know why they decided to become a member of this association and how they feel integrated in Brisbane.
For me, at first was just about belonging to someone. As a vegetarian or vegan, you sometimes feel very isolated, and you think, oh gosh, you're the only one in the world. And yeah, the Vegetarian Society gives you a sense of community. You're together with other people who share the same values, they think and feel the same way you do. And yeah, but also I like getting involved later on and just promoting veganism, and it gives me the feeling that I'm doing something useful, something meaningful, than just going to work and making money.
Well, what's the problem with eating meat? I said, well, why do it? Why kill something? What gives you the right to kill something to eat it? And people just don't even understand it. So you kind of, I don't feel left out, but it makes you angry trying to work people out how they don't understand the reason. You just think, it's an animal, so what? But just trying to get that across to people, it's hard. It's fun. It makes you angry. People just don't understand it. And, I don't know.
A lot of people say they don't like cruelty or unnecessary suffering and stuff on animals, but when you show them that what they are against is happening in the meat industry and all these industries that exploit animals, they reject it and they don't want to hear about it, and it's frustrating. You show them the information and it's solid, it's proven, and it's just frustrating because it's just not consistent with what they believe and stuff. So
the availability of food has improved, but also a lot more people, still not everyone unfortunately, but a lot more people understand now what veganism is. And I think it just takes time. I mean, like 20 years ago, vegan, that would have been, no one would have known, I guess. But now more people do, and give us a few more years and everyone will know, hopefully. And everyone will be one. So it's improving slowly. But,
if people knew that the food could be absolutely delicious, and that there's vegan versions of virtually any food, like there's vegan ice cream, vegan chocolate, vegan yogurt, vegan cakes, vegan vegan burgers and sausages and meat substitutes.
That doesn't destroy the environment, that doesn't cause cruelty, that doesn't exploit animals. There's alternatives. So, I don't know, I think people just need to...
You definitely don't have to be deprived on a vegan diet by any means, and I wish people knew that more.
Yeah.
That, you don't.
and cupcakes or something.
Yeah,
That's
little
vegan.
tiny, little.
The Vegetarian Society was born in 1994. Richard was one of the first members in charge of the communication. And according to him, we can compare Australian situation to UK or United States.
If you look at figures for young people, again looking at the US and UK, or particularly the UK, the 21st Century Toddler Study, which I think was it might have been in 2003 in the UK, that said that 6% of 6% of toddlers under 3 were vegetarian. Now that's for toddlers under 3. And if you go to the 15 to 24 year age group, it increases even more. There are 7 to 11% that are vegetarian. And that's backed up by a Sanitarium News Poll study in Australia in 2000, which said that the greater trend towards vegetarian eating occurred in 18 to 24 year olds. So given the increase in younger people perhaps becoming vegetarian, I think now we get to the short answer. I think in short there may well be a trend to more people having a greater interest in being vegetarian and becoming vegetarian.
Let's return to our two vegetarian men from the beginning. Do they feel integrated? First David, who became vegetarian for health reasons. After becoming vegetarian, David opened a vegetarian restaurant to promote his new way of life.
For quite a lot of people, whenever they talk about vegetarian food, they think only all vegetable and fruit, nothing more than that. But have a look at our buffet. This is just the small buffet we have today. At the weekend, we have a big, huge one. So this is big enough and sufficient enough to supply all the protein, all the nutrition your body needs. So lots of people think, oh, you're vegetarian, you're strange people. You are not a part of the society. But as I can see in Australia and worldwide, more and more people now appreciate vegetarian food now.
Some people you meet, they'll know what a vegan is and know what things are, and they're not a vegan at all. They eat meat. They have no ties with it at all, but they'll know what a vegan is and don't have a problem with. There's other people that you'll meet that'll have no idea, and that's completely fine. That's what it's all about. But really like, oh, why do you do that? How do you get your blah 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 blah? And they're all questions that are natural. I probably did. Yeah, well, I did do them before I was vegetarian. I remember doing it to my cousins and that. So everyone does it. A lot of abrupt questions but it's all the environment that you're with. Like my dad's family are really blue collar, bogan Australians, and they don't understand veganism at all. They wouldn't even understand vegetarianism. They just wouldn't have a clue. And that's hard. Never feel integrated with that side of the family at all. They're having their barbecues and I'm knocking up scrambled tofu or whatever. So, but then in Brisbane, if you looked at Brisbane as a situation, I think it's pretty good. You've got West End that has a lot of vegetarian. I think you learn to take your own food with you wherever you go.
Life is easier for vegetarian people in Australia than in France because alternative food is more developed. But, like every minority, they suffer from the limited impact they can have on the total population and the misunderstanding that results.